Around 1200 BCE, the ancient world burned. The great empires of the late Bronze Age, the mighty Egyptians, the legendary Mycenaeans of Greece, the Hittites of Anatolia, even the city of Troy, all faced a storm of fire and chaos. Entire civilizations, which had thrived for centuries, crumbled and vanished in what felt like the blink of an eye. And through the smoke and ruins, one mysterious name echoes in the few records that survived: the Sea Peoples. But who were they? Were they a merciless horde of invaders sweeping across the Mediterranean with fire and steel? Were they desperate refugees, fleeing a catastrophe of their own and fighting for a new home? Or could they be something far more complex? A hidden force, a forgotten alliance that fundamentally rewrote the course of human history? The answer to this question is one of history's greatest and most tantalizing mysteries. To understand the sheer scale of this cataclysm, we need to step back into the world they upended. The Late Bronze Age, around 1300 BCE, was arguably the first truly globalized world. It was an age of colossal empires, connected by intricate trade routes that crisscrossed the Mediterranean and the Near East. Ships laden with copper from Cyprus, tin from Afghanistan, and grain from Egypt sailed between bustling port cities. This was a world of diplomats and treaties, of powerful kings exchanging letters written in complex cuneiform script. Imagine a network connecting Egypt, Greece, Anatolia, and the Levant, a vibrant system of commerce and culture. It seemed unshakable. And then within a single generation it all fell silent. Palaces were burned to the ground. Major cities were abandoned, their populations seemingly vanished. Entire writing systems, like the Mycenaean Linear B, disappeared from history, lost for millennia. Famine, plague, and social breakdown swept across the land. Archaeologists call this event the Bronze Age collapse, and for over a century, it has remained the greatest unsolved mystery of ancient history. And at the very heart of this dramatic collapse, appearing in inscriptions and reliefs, were the shadowy figures known as the Sea Peoples. For the longest time, our primary source of information came from the victor's perspective, specifically from Egypt. The mighty pharaoh Ramesses III, ruling in the 12th century BCE, detailed his desperate struggles against these enigmatic foes. On the walls of his mortuary temple at Medinet Habu, he carved epic scenes of naval and land battles. He describes a coalition of peoples, the Peliset, the Chekir, the Shurdan, the Danaan, advancing from the islands in the midst of the Great Green Sea. His inscriptions paint a terrifying picture. They came with fire prepared before them, a conspiracy in their islands. Their confederation was the Peliset, Chekir, Shekelesh, Denyen, and Weshesh, lands united. They laid their hands upon the lands as far as the circuit of the earth, their hearts confident and trusting. To Ramesses and the Egyptians, they were chaos incarnate, a destructive force that had already laid waste to the Hittite Empire and other kingdoms. Ramesses ultimately claimed a glorious victory, boasting that he had turned the Nile red with their blood and captured thousands. Based on this account, the first and most enduring theory was born. The Sea Peoples were a military confederation of pirates and raiders, a barbarian horde that brought a golden age to its knees. But history is rarely so simple. As archaeologists dug deeper, a different, more tragic picture began to emerge. This is the refugee theory. New scientific evidence, from analyzing ancient pollen and soil layers, points to a period of severe, prolonged drought across the eastern Mediterranean right around 1200 BCE. This mega-drought would have led to widespread crop failures and famine. Add to this a series of massive earthquakes, what some archaeologists call an earthquake storm, that leveled major cities from Greece to the Levant. Imagine your world falling apart. Your crops fail, your city is destroyed by earthquakes, and your society begins to crumble. What would you do? You might gather your family, board a boat, and set sail in a desperate search for a new home, a place where you can survive. According to this theory, the Sea Peoples weren't a planned invasion force. They were entire nations on the move. Men, women, and children, depicted in Egyptian reliefs with their families in ox carts. They were fighting not for conquest, but for survival. Their invasions were a chain reaction, a domino effect of displacement and conflict rippling across the Mediterranean. They weren't the cause of the collapse. They were the most visible symptom of a world already dying from climate change and natural disaster. This theory transforms them from villains into victims, a powerful reminder of how environmental shifts can unravel even the most sophisticated civilizations. Yet there's a third, more intriguing possibility that combines elements of the other two. What if the Sea Peoples were neither foreign invaders nor helpless refugees, but an inside job? This is the hidden empire, or social uprising theory. The late Bronze Age world was highly stratified. A small elite of kings and priests controlled immense wealth, while the vast majority of the population, farmers, sailors, and soldiers, lived lives of toil. This theory suggests that as the centralized palace economies began to fail due to famine and earthquakes, the system broke down from within. Who were the people with the skills to wreak such havoc? Sailors, mercenaries, and skilled warriors. Many of these groups, like the Shurden, had actually served as mercenaries in the Egyptian army for generations. Could they have seen the weakness of their masters and decided to carve out a kingdom for themselves? Perhaps the Sea Peoples were a coalition of these disenfranchised groups, disaffected soldiers, former Mycenaean sailors turned pirates, and oppressed peasants who rose up against a system that could no longer protect or provide for them. They weren't an external force, they were the remnants of the old empires, a secret alliance of maritime experts who turned their skills against the very masters who had once employed them. This theory casts them as revolutionaries, tearing down a corrupt world to build a new one. For decades, these theories were debated based on scant textual evidence and ruins on land. But the real clues, the game-changing evidence, were waiting in the one place no one had looked until recently, beneath the waves. Recent advances in underwater archaeology are revolutionizing our understanding of the Sea Peoples. Off the coast of Turkey and Israel, marine archaeologists have discovered incredible artifacts, shipwrecks, weapons, and distinctive pottery that are finally giving these mysterious people a face. One of the most significant finds is the unique style of pottery associated with them, which shows a fascinating blend of Mycenaean, Cypriot, and Canaanite influences. It's not the crude work of unsophisticated barbarians. Instead, it suggests a fusion of cultures, a melting pot of people from across the collapsed world. Furthermore, weapons and helmets found in these underwater sites, which match the depictions in Egyptian reliefs, show a high degree of craftsmanship and technological skill. They were master seafarers and formidable warriors, yes, but they were also artisans and traders. These discoveries are painting a new picture. Far from being a monolithic horde, the Sea Peoples were likely a diverse and dynamic collection of different groups. Some were probably raiders, others were migrants, and many were likely skilled mariners who adapted to the changing world. They didn't just destroy the old Bronze Age system, they actively participated in creating the new Iron Age world that followed. Peoples like the Peliset, mentioned by Rameses, are now almost universally identified with the biblical Philistines, who settled on the coast of Canaan and established their own powerful cities. They didn't just vanish after their defeat in Egypt. They settled, adapted, and became a key part of the new geopolitical landscape. They weren't the end of civilization. They were the agents of its transformation. So, the story of the Sea Peoples is far more than just an ancient whodunit. Every great mystery from the past hides a lesson, and perhaps a warning for us today. The fall of the late Bronze Age wasn't just the end of an era. It was the catastrophic collapse of a complex, interconnected world, not unlike our own. It was a world that became too rigid, too dependent on long supply chains, and too vulnerable to climate shocks. In the end, maybe the Sea Peoples weren't the destroyers we once thought they were. Maybe they were simply the survivors. They were the ones who were resilient enough, mobile enough, and adaptable enough to navigate the chaos when the old world crumbled. Their story is a powerful and sobering reminder of how fragile civilization truly is, and how quickly our world can be rewritten by forces beyond our control. The echoes of their forgotten ships and fallen empires still whisper to us from beneath the waves, asking if we are listening to the lessons they tried to teach. History is filled with lost chapters and hidden truths waiting to be uncovered. If you love digging into the past to solve its greatest mysteries, then make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Join us on this channel as we continue to explore the stories that time tried to forget. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next investigation.